So I got my heater out the other day. It's a Procom freestanding propane heater. This one is not wall mounted, this is just freestanding. And there's some things that I needed to do before I hook it up in my house to ensure that it works properly and it works safely. So I wanted to take time to make a video. Me and my son's going to take this apart. We're going to show you some things that you need to clean. We're going to show you some things that you need to check and test and make sure they're operating properly. And then you'll be ready to go for the winter. They recommend that you take these apart and clean them every 2 to 3 months to make sure they're working properly. So if you do that about right now, it should carry you through the winter time. So with that, we're going to get started and we're going to show you what you need to do. Okay, so I got the back facing us here. I wanted to talk about a couple of things before we get into taking it apart. One of the things I want to talk about is the gas selector access right here. You can change this from propane to natural gas. But as it says on the cover, you should only let a qualified individual do that. Please don't try to do that yourself. If you need to call someone in, call somebody in, get them to change that setting that's qualified and that knows what they're doing with that. And if you know what you're doing with it, by all means go for it. But I suggest that somebody that's qualified to do that should do it. The only thing that's powered on here is the fan. That's the only thing that's electrically powered on here. And we want to take that fan out and we want to make sure that it's clean, that it's dust free, and that everything looks good on it. There's no broken blades. So I'm going to have my son Dakota help me with that right now, and we'll let you take a look at it. The only thing you need is a Phillips head screwdriver. That should be the only tool that you need to do any of what we're doing. So Dakota, go ahead and start taking the fan off. Alright, so we took all 4 screws out. Now this fan unit will just come completely out of the heater. And this is what you have. You have the electrical unit with inside of it. You want to check the wires, make sure all the wires are looking good. You want to check inside here, make sure that all the fan blades are not broken. And some of the ways that you can clean this, one of the ways I like to use is some canned air. You can spray some canned air in there, and that'll clean it out real well. You can also use a compressor air, but I suggest not putting too much pressure to it. They suggest when you're cleaning these units to use no more than 30 psi. So when we check this, it looks good, all the wiring looks good, it's dust free, no blades are broken. So we can go ahead and we can put this right back in there. Okay, so we've got our propane heater turned back around here. We're going to start taking her apart and we're going to get inside and show you some things that you need to clean and some things that you need to inspect. It's real easy to take apart. Again, like I said, all you need is a Phillips head screwdriver, and there is 6 screws holding these front assemblies on. So we're going to go ahead and get started. To remove this mesh cover, you have a screw here and you have a screw here, and we're going to take those 2 off right now. Now those 2 screws hold the top of that in, and you have a tab here and a tab here. So you just have to kind of fold this out and lift those tabs out. And then you're done with that piece, and we'll set it to the side. Now the black frame here, we have 2 more screws holding that in, one here on the side and one here on the side, and we'll go ahead and we'll take that off. This as well has tabs on it. Sometimes this is a little trickier. Just kind of fold it out a little bit and raise it up off of those tabs. Now the tabs are on this lower piece, and this one has the slots. So you just raise it off and we'll set it to the side. Last piece you have is this piece of framework here. It has 2 screws down on the bottom, and we'll go ahead and we'll take that off. and that slides right off just like that. And we'll set it to the side. Now that exposes all of our parts in here and the heater. And there's a few things that we want to make sure to clean out. One is what I call the heater bricks. We want to make sure that those are clean and dust free. Those tend to collect a lot of dust and can cause a lot of problems. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can clean this piece. One is you can use your air gun with your air compressor. Again, make sure you use no more than 30 psi. If you've got more air than that, just tend to hold it back a little bit further. But we can use that and lightly blow it out. Or what most people prefer is just a small can of canned air, and you can use that. And just lightly go over it and make sure that all the dust is blowed out of this. Make sure there's no chunks broken out of it or any visible damage to it. The next thing that we want to check is this area right here, and we're going to go ahead and get you zoomed in so that you can see that area real good. Okay, we've got you zoomed in on the heater unit here. There's a few things that we want to talk about. One is we want to talk about these tubes right here. You'll notice there's a small hole right there. That is an air intake. Okay, we want to make sure that that hole is cleaned out, as well as the hole right here in the end of this tube. And you have two of those tubes on either side here, and we want to make sure that both of those are really good and cleaned out. Some of the ways that we can do that, again, I wouldn't recommend using compressed air right here. I'd recommend using the canned air. We can use that. Some folks like to use the pipe cleaners. I don't like to use those because those can daub up the hole and push the dust further down in there or whatever may be blocking it. If you have nothing else, you can use a straw. Take a straw, put it to your mouth, give it a light blow. You're basically just trying to blow the dust out of there, and I'm going to show you how right now. So you just give that a shot on each tube. And that'll clear the ends of those tubes out. There shouldn't be too much sitting in there, maybe just a little dust that has settled when you've not been using it. So we want to make sure that we get that cleared out. Again, you can give it just an overall spray in the general area. That takes care of any dust that might be laying around by the igniter right here. And that's another thing that I want to talk about. This propane heater is set up with a piezo igniter, and it's the knob that's on top of it. What that means is it doesn't use batteries to give an ignite. It uses a piezo type unit that generates its own electricity. So we don't have to check the batteries, but we do need to check and make sure that it is working. When you push down on it, you should hear a signature loud pop like this. That loud clicking you're hearing, that tells us that the igniter itself is operational. The next thing you want to check is to make sure you have a spark right here between the igniter and the little rod right there. Okay? So we want to clean those and make sure that those are well cleaned off. And what you can do is you can take your little strip of sandpaper, and we're just going to lightly put it in there and just kind of knock any dust off. Sometimes those get little white powdery substance built up on it, and we want to make sure that those are good cleaned. Be very gentle right here. We don't want to break those igniter rods off. Alright, so once we got those real good and cleaned, we're going to check this piezo igniter again and make sure that we have a little spark right here. Please keep your hands away from this unit when you're checking the igniter. It could give you a shock. Now this unit is working good. When you look at it and you push the igniter down, you should see a visible spark go from the igniter over to the rod. You should be able to visibly see that. We'll see if we can zoom you in and take a better look at that. Okay, so we got you zoomed in. We're going to test this piezo igniter, and hopefully you'll be able to see the spark here. So that spark lets you know that your igniter is working the way it should. Now, if you push this igniter button down and you don't get this click, then that means your piezo igniter is bad and you need to replace that unit. If you're getting the click but no spark, then you've got a break in this wire. You need to check this wire and make sure that it's not broken anywhere. The wire leading from your piezo igniter down to the igniter rod, if it's broke completely, you won't have a spark. Sometimes that wire will just halfway break and you might see a spark somewhere along that wire. So now we know that's good. We're going to go ahead and zoom you back out on the unit. Okay, we've cleaned out the gas tubes here. We've checked the igniter rods and cleaned those. Want to take a look at this copper tubing here. And we want to take a look at this black wire here and make sure that those look real good. Again, like I said, you want to check these brick and make sure that there's no damage through here and that they all look real good. And we want to make sure, most importantly, that all of this is as dust free as you can possibly get it. That includes wiping down the inside of the unit and cleaning that out real well. If you get any dust down in these tubes or around the igniter rod, or if you get a lot of dust in these bricks, it's going to cause you problems while you're running this unit. It's going to cause problems trying to light the unit. You won't get the proper gas that you need to get to operate the unit. So we really want to make sure all those are completely clean. Okay, so now that we've cleaned out everything within the inside that we need to clean, we're going to go ahead and put her back together. When we put these pieces back together, let's not forget to give them a good cleaning and dusting before we put them back on, or else we're putting dust right back into our unit. So we're going to go ahead and get that started for you. First thing that goes on is our bottom cover. Next piece is the black frame, and it can be a little tricky sometimes. We have to get those tabs off the bottom panel into the bottom of this, and that can be a little tricky. Once you get the tabs in, you can just pop that bottom panel on in and get it lined up where you need it to be. And then we have two screws holding this in on the bottom portion. We'll go ahead and put those screws in now for you. Okay, the next piece is this mesh panel. And again, like I said, don't forget to make sure you clean the dust off of these pieces, or else we're putting it right back in there. This one again has the two tabs that pop into the slots on here. With that, we got her back together. Everything's tightened up, everything's been cleaned. She's now ready to be installed. All you have to do is put her wherever it is that you keep her, hook up the back line to your incoming propane. Make sure those fittings are very tight. You don't want any gas leaking out of the fittings there. Once she's ready to go, your initial startup, you'll have to turn this over to ignite, and you need to hold the button down for at least 30 seconds. That ensures that once you've opened the valve on the back, that the propane can fill up all the lines into the unit and can fill up the tubes inside the unit and bring the gas to the igniter. After about 30 to 40 seconds, that should be done. You can go ahead and give your piezo igniter a push, and your heater should be operational. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it's helped you in some way to prepare for this coming winter. Enjoy the heater and stay warm. Thank you.